Hey everybody, it's Ed, back with another tutorial on Manga Studio. This is like the fourth time I've recorded this video, so if my energy is low, please excuse it. It's been a little while since I've been here. I'm glad to be back. I've been very busy with, I've been doing some t-shirt designs and selling some t-shirts in person, which is pretty fun. And I've also been running a comic artist group here in the city of Chicago, and I've also been running our Kickstarter for that group. We just kickstarted and are printing our first anthology, and it got me thinking about creating templates in Manga Studio for just that purpose. So I thought I would make this video, and hopefully this will be my foot getting put right back into this world of making videos for you guys so that you can get better at Manga Studio and all things Manga Studio. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what to do, and then I'm going to show you I'm going to give you a quick overview of this template, and then I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to actually create your own template. So this is the template from Kablam. Kablam is a printing company that prints comic books specifically. They're a print-on-demand printer, which means they can print you one copy of your comic, or they can print you 1,000 copies of your comic. And the more you print, obviously, the cheaper it is, but at some point, it's better to go with a commercial printer if you're going really high with your prints. In our case, we're printing 500 for our anthology, so their pricing was just in the right sweet spot. And this was a different experience for me because prior to this, I had always been just working online and posting webcomics, so I didn't honestly know all the ins and outs of DPI and all that kind of stuff. So this was my first foray into that, and what I'm going to talk about here is this specific template, but what I'm talking about should be applicable to most printing projects you'd run into in comics, so I hope this is helpful. So this is the template from them. I did my research before we printed. I recommend you do the same thing because you want to make sure your files are in the right format before you start work on them. The worst thing that could happen is that you start work, make some great comics, and then you find out that your dimensions are off. So you didn't have the right ratio of width to height in your images, and now you have to really skew them or crop them to get them to fit in this template. So save yourself a headache and do that ahead of time. So with Kablam, they start out with a solid sheet of paper when they're printing that's 7 inches wide by 10.5 inches high. It's probably longer than 10.5 inches high. It's probably one long sheet that they're printing on, but they're cutting it. So what they do is they take this 10.5 inch high piece of paper and 7 inch wide piece of paper, and they trim it. They trim about 1/4 of an inch off of it. See this little thing that says trim line after they've printed your image. And that's trimming it so that it's the size it needs to be to make your comic book standard. So their standard size is 6.75 by 10.25 inches. Okay, so that makes sense. They print it bigger, they cut some of it off, there's some left. So why are there 3 lines here? Well, there are 3 lines because this blue area is the live or safe area. That's the area where everything that you want the reader to see has to be in there. Anything in there is safe. It's for sure going in your comic. After they do the cutting, you should have no problem seeing it. If this were a comic on the right side of a 2-page spread, it would even be probably done well enough, or it would be well enough within the lines that when you just opened the comic a little bit, you could still see all the stuff in this blue area on the right side. That means you don't want to put anything outside of this area that you for sure want people to see. So don't put any text outside of this area, and any important story elements, whether it's a person's eye or face or finger or whatever, make sure that it stays in the blue area. Stuff like fences or houses or background elements, or even maybe some foreground elements, they can be in that area. They can be in the yellow area, they can be in the red area, because they're not central to the story. So everything that's important goes in that area. So in Manga Studio, there's this nice feature where you can create this inner box and then have stuff like your panel borders, when you draw them, snap to that box. So you can be guaranteed that whatever you're putting in there, it's going to snap it to the live area, and then you don't have to worry about anything not getting printed properly, which is a really nice feature. So we're going to basically repeat this template, make our own Manga Studio template, and then that way every time we want to make a new page for printing it kablam, we've got a preset for that. So we're going to go to File, New. Don't worry about the file name. You can call it whatever you want because you're going to save it as something later or change the name of it anyway. Mine comes up by default with custom. You'll see all these other things listed. The top ones here, they're all for print because the resolution is higher, 350, 600, and it has this BA numbering system, which is a standard system for document sizes. Down here, these are more for print on the web because they're lower resolution, saving you in file size and loading time, and they're set to pixel resolutions, which are roughly equivalent to the pixel resolutions on standard monitors. So maybe in the future, if they don't update this and you're making this for the web, you might have to add your own custom pixel sizes as well. If you get a computer with like sweet resolution that doesn't fit one of these. Okay, so I'm just going to select custom for right now. Here you see canvas size. This is just canvas size as you'd use in any program like here or Photoshop. So right now it's expressed in millimeters. I want to change both of these things. I want to change it from this A4 size to custom, and I want to change this to inches. Okay, so I'm going to change this to 7 and change this to 10.5 to be in line with what they want. I don't know. I have Windows 10 now and weird things are happening. Down here's the resolution. It's set to 300. If you're printing it, you really don't have to go above 300. From what I understand from the printers I talked to at the moment, this is the best they can do. 300 is the best they can do. So upping that is increasing your file size, but not really increasing the quality of the print. Some people will say, oh, give us 340 or 350. I don't know if that's to be safe. I'm not really sure why. I don't think it matters, but don't go nuts and make it 1200 because then you just have a gigantic file for no reason. You'll notice over here that there's no lines drawn. There's no trim line. There's no live area on this. That's because we haven't told it we want it for print yet. So when we say we want it for print, we're clicking this. This might be click fight by default in Manga Studio when you open a new one. I'm not sure. It's been so long since I used the defaults that I don't remember what they look like. So we're going to change this to custom. We're going to change this to custom. I'm going to set by size, not by margin. If you change this, you see that it changes to margins, just like you were setting margins on a term paper. I prefer to do size. I think it gives you more control over what you're doing. Our binding or our finish size, that's that trim line. Okay, so if we go back and look at this, trim area is 6.75 by 10.25. I'm going to change that. And then I'm going to actually just take this border bleed width down to 0. The one thing that really drives me nuts about this is that it's trying so hard to be helpful, but it just gets in your way. It changes stuff on you here when you're punching these things in, so double and triple check these things as you go when you're setting this up. Our default inner border, that is the live area, the blue area. It is 6.25 by 9.75. Change that. Okay. And you notice that it kind of slightly skewed with this. Skewed, nice. So we have to change that back. Okay, so canvas size 7 by 10.5. Binding size is 6.75 by 10.25, good. And the document size, oh no, sorry, live area is 6.25 by 9.75, got that. You can change this. I would keep it the same if you want to just work. You can change this later too, once you've created the document. And then you can change your paper color if you don't want it to be white. If you're going to print it though, probably want it to be white or black maybe, I don't know, it depends on what you're doing. And then template here, you can actually go in and you can predefine some boxes. So let's say that you always do a comic where you always got 4 panels like this. You can just have it roll it for you, and then you always have it that way when you want to use it. I'm not going to do that here. Last thing we want to do, so we make sure we save this guy for future use, is go to register for preset, call it something very memorable. So in this case, when I'm looking at it later, what I want to be able to see is that it's. I want to be able to know what it is without having to guess. So the more information, the better. You know, I know that it's Kablam. I know it's a standard comic page and not a manga page, and I know that it's at 300 DPI. So I hit OK. You'll notice now that it's listed under preset, and it's actually going to be listed in this. Every time you hit new, this will be now saved in there unless you get a new computer or something. We click OK, get our brand new template. We notice that it looks pretty similar to the PNG that I had open, but I can double check it by going File, Import, Import that guy. And if I lower the opacity, you can see the colors line up almost perfectly with these trims. So that's awesome. That's what we want. And as I was mentioning, the neat thing about this is if I grab the frame tool and I go in and I want to draw some panels, they're just going to snap to these guys automatically. So what it knows is that, you know, this is the safe area, and that it's going to keep your stuff within that. You can still draw outside of it if you're not drawing in the panel area, or maybe if you want your panels to go a little bit further out into that yellow danger zone, you can do that, but I wouldn't recommend it. If you want a full bleed, just make it go all the way to the edge. Don't worry about, you don't even need to add the middle guide area if you're always going to do full bleed, unless you really want it for some reason. But don't do that. You know, just make it go all the way to the edge, and just make sure that beyond this line, you're not seeing anything that you think is important that needs to stay in the shot. So I hope that helps. Now I know that any time that I go in here and I hit File, New, it's going to be listed. It's going to actually be defaulting to that page, which is nice, especially if I'm going to do 30 pages for Kablam. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you're finding these videos helpful. If you have any questions or ideas for future videos, please let me know. Please like this video and comment on it, and send me some of your stuff. Or I like to see things people have made as a result of these tutorials. And I hope to have another one for you very soon. And